Chapter 20. He turned up at the hospital a few minutes early. After sitting in a rather drafty waiting room for rather longer, Dr. Warmby turned up. He was dressed in the customary open white coat and carrying the compulsory clipboard, but his shiny head, chubby demeanour and slightly greying moustache dispelled any impression of a junior practitioner. "Mr. Trevathan, I've just had the analysis from those tablets from the police labs, and they look an amazing mixture to be taking for the flu. Do you know where they came from?" "I'm afraid that the girl who gave me them thinks she bought them last year in Spain on holiday or something. If you got the bottle, I could show it to her again. That might trigger her memory." "That's a shame, and I think the person at the forensic labs kept the container for more tests. One of the problems he had was that it wasn't very much to analyse. Still, to symptoms. Have you had any symptoms like flushing, sweating, tremors, sleeplessness?" "No, quite the opposite. I've been having no trouble sleeping, but I've been getting the strangest dreams. I wake up all sweaty, and the last one I ended up stiff as a post, but during the daytime there's been no problem." "Yes, Dr. Jacobson mentioned that you'd been seeing him about some disturbing dreams, but that's really his province. But he thought, and I agree with him looking at this list, that there might have been some neurological damage, something that cocktail of chemicals could have done to your brain. There's also a chance that there's a long-term hallucinogenic effect, but I'd have expected that to have faded by now. Still, there is something going on, and perhaps I can help find it. Have you ever had an X-ray or a scan done of your head, or treatment for any nerve problems?" Nothing. Well, I did get hit on the head by a stone when I was 9, but I don't think they did any more for me than put me into bed for a day. Certainly no X-rays." The doctor pouted a somewhat blubbery lip. "They should have checked for a fracture at least. There might have been something which went wrong then, and only recently got triggered. Have you had any bumps to the head lately? Any shocks?" Steve told him about the dentist and the first dream he'd had while he was under the gas. Perhaps we're onto something here. Right, on with the show. First, I'm going to run some standard checks on the obvious stuff, reactions and so on. Roll up your right trouser leg, will you, and sit down there." From a pocket, the doctor produced a small steel and rubber mallet, which he brought down sharply on Steve's kneecap. His leg twitched to order. "Seems okay for starters. Right, if you could look over my shoulder." The doctor pulled up a chair and sat in front of Steve, bare leg and all. He shone a pocket flash lamp in Steve's eyes, one at a time, covering it up, moving it around, and generally getting a good dazzle in. "Watch the light now, please." He swung it from left to right and watched Steve's eyeballs swivel. It must be fun to be a doctor, thought Steve. "Do you use a computer at all? Either one at home or at work?" "There's one at work I use a couple of days a week. Why, is it affecting my eyes?" "I'd be surprised, but does the screen flicker at all?" "Not normally, but it was pretty bad this morning. I wondered about calling the company and getting the thing fixed, but someone else who uses it couldn't see anything wrong." "That ties in with something these tests are showing. Your visual reactions are much, much faster than normal, and that's most unusual. Some people are like that, and they tend to be not only able to see things like the flicker on video screens and televisions, but aware to such an extent that they can't use them. Most people don't notice it, because the screens are designed to be faster than the normal persistence of vision. But you haven't noticed that before?" "No, I've been using computers since school, and I've never given them a second thought." "Well, that's one thing that's changed. I can't think what would cause it, though. Generally, response time slows if anything goes wrong. Would you mind if I gave you a scan?" A what?" "A scan. It's an electronic way of peeking at your brain without actually having to slice the top off and wade through the grey matter." "Oh, great," thought Steve. "Another doctor who gets all chummy on you. But it's completely harmless, painless, and rather relaxing." "I can't see why not." "Thought you wouldn't. We'll end up with a nice picture of various slices of your brain. The NMR scanner is usually tied up solidly, but this evening I've got it at 5:30, and it's almost that now. I'm glad you made it. Come on, it's just down the corridor." The doctor was warming up, getting more enthusiastic as, Steve supposed, his case was grabbing the guy's attention. Steve rolled down his trouser leg and had to hop out of the room to catch up with the portly medico as he strode down the passageway. "Here we are." Through some swing doors and into a room filled with large white boxes. There was what looked like a computer with a few displays, a large hall with some more boxes arranged around it, and a couch worryingly near. At the computer sat a white-coated woman who was tapping away at the keyboard. "Problems, Sally?" "No, I'm just calibrating the thing. It should be ready in a moment." "It's devilishly clever," expanded the doctor to Steve. "Imagine all the water molecules in your body are like tiny magnets, which they are in a way." "That's silly," thought Steve. "Water isn't attracted to a magnet, but let the man get on with it." This box pumps an amazingly intense magnetic field into your brain and makes all the water molecules twitch. It then turns its magnets off, but since the water carries on twitching, it can scan through and find out how much water is where. Different sorts of brain tissue have different amounts of water, so we can, or rather the computer can, work out what bits are where. NMR stands for nuclear magnetic resonance. Good, isn't it? Sounds fascinating. Won't all the magnetic fields and twitching water affect my brain? No, not for longer than a few nanoseconds. But take your watch off. They don't like to be in the scanner much. Ready when you are. Could I have the patient's name and details, please? Just so the computer can label the pictures. That was addressed to Steve, who was getting more worried by the moment. Right, if you could lie down, head towards the aperture on the bench, please. This will take a few minutes. Steve lay down and the machine slowly pulled him in. Apart from various hums, whirs, and the clatter of the keyboard, he couldn't see or hear anything. The bench whirred and he slid out again. Can I sit up now? Yes, said Dr. Warmby, who promptly went back to discussing the screen in front of him with the operator. Are you sure? It looks like the machine's up the spout. That is not a possible result. Look at the thalamus and the hippocampus. There's absolutely no sign of the corpus callosum. Can we have a look at the back? I mean, where's the resolution on the visual cortex? Your scanner isn't working properly. It is. It's calibrated. It's produced 10 good scans today and it'll do 12 more tomorrow. Whatever's wrong, it isn't the machine. Look, the next patient is due in 5 minutes and I have to recalibrate again. You come back in half an hour and we'll see what we can get from this next scan, okay? I know what I'll see. I'll see a nonsensical picture just like this one. Well, wait and see. Meanwhile, here's your hard copy. I'm sorry, Mr. Trevathan, but there seems to be something wrong with the machinery, said the doctor to a frigid stare from the operator. If you don't mind waiting for a while, we'll go away and do some more tests, and then we'll come back here to see if we can salvage anything from the run. But when they came back, the machine was working perfectly. The doctor called in another doctor, who called in another, and they huddled around the machine, conversing in whispers, pencils and fingers jabbing at the screen, whereon Steve's odd mental apparatus was displayed. What is going on? Asked Steve, who was by now scared good and proper. Is it the machine, or have I got something wrong with me? Dr. Warmby stood up and walked over. The other two doctors looked at him, at Steve, and then went back to the screen. It doesn't look like the machine, I'm afraid. You've either got the oddest brain structure that's ever been seen in a normal person, or what looks like a viral infection that's affected parts of your neural tissue. But that's not possible either. You'd be on a life support system if what we're seeing was true. We'd like to keep you in overnight and take some long-term EEG readings. This is serious, isn't it? Said Steve, disbelieving it all. Is it anything to do with the pills Emily gave me? That's something else that doesn't make sense. Those mysterious pills. We checked the bottle again, and all we found was aspirin. Oh my goodness. Steve felt the room move, tried to grab the table to steady himself, and fell over. He never felt the floor. Instead, he was falling.